This is Rauno from Finland. We have Santa Claus. I'm Liam, that's Rob, and for the third part of our 100th season of Alternative Christmas Movie Podcast, we are looking back at Jalmari Hellan's wonderfully bleak take on the Santa Claus mythos, 2010's black comedy horror classic, Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. Structurally and thematically, Rare Exports, despite its finished production, revels in the kind of kid-friendly horror that was so prevalent in 80s Hollywood. But while you might be able to sneak a violent gremlin death or Phoebe Cates living one of the most resolutely depressing Christmas stories of all time past grandma, you might find it a tad more difficult explaining away the array of old man dicks on screen if you decide to make Rare Exports a new family tradition this festive season. Now, Rob, I'd only seen this movie once, and I was depressed to find out that it came out in 2010. So the reason I can't remember a lot of it, or couldn't remember a lot of it, is because I watched it 15 fucking years ago, which is horrifying. But I had very fond memories of it. Had you seen it before?
Yeah, this is my third viewing. Still upset that it came out in 2010. Watched it
depressing.
myself, then convinced mutual friend Dave to watch it, so watched it with him.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoyed it, and then never watched it again, kind of thing. It's just one. It's not that I chose not to. It's just never come up to watching it. Like, it's something you have to, like, not be in the mood for. But you've seen it once, fine, move on. It's an entertaining film, but I still enjoyed it. I still really enjoyed it this watch as well. Like, and I'm going to butcher all these names, and I do apologize, but Oni Tamila as Pietri Contio is perfect in this film.
Good. He's how many movies have we watched, or some we've covered, and some movies obviously I've just seen, just the other movies I've seen, and we haven't covered them all on the podcast. Yeah. How easily a bad or annoying child actor can completely derail a movie.
I can give you the actual counterpart to that in this film, because Yuso,
I love Yuso.
Oh, Yuso is an awful child actor. Like, when he rocks,
he's wonderful, but for reasons I'll explain in a moment.
Okay, is it because he looks like your lesbian auntie?
I think Yuso is I mentioned the intro there that structurally and thematically, this feels like an 80s movie. And honestly, I think that's one of the issues why maybe it's not as popular as it should be. Well, part of it is because it's in Finnish, which is, whatever we might think of it, is absolutely a barrier to entry for a lot of people, especially with a Christmas movie. You're trying to get the whole family involved, and you're like,
totally agree.
Finnish.
Because I turn around to my wife or things like that, say, do you want to watch a film? And she say, oh, what's it about? And I say, well, it doesn't matter. It starts off with, it's a reading film. Oh, I'm out.
A reading film?
Yeah, I'm out.
Great way of putting it.
That's not just my wife, mine. My brother is the same. I talk to my brother about films, and if he has to read, he's out.
Yeah. It's weird because I've become... The thing is, it wasn't like I was watching movies with subtitles when I was younger. It was as I got more into movies as I got older. And, I don't even think about it now. If, like, there's subtitles on the screen, you just immediately become used to it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they just will not deal with it. And I remember one of the guys I used to work with, he said, and, I'm sure you've noticed this before, if, like, an international movie, basically a foreign language movie, is really big and becomes, like, this international hit, when you see the trailer over here, especially the ones on TV, nobody says shit because they are basically burying the lead and they don't want you to know it's foreign. So my friend, once he went to the cinema, I can't remember, it was like fucking Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or some shit, and he got there and they literally said at the cinema, it's like, you don't mind that it's subtitled. And I was initially shocked. I was like, wait, they actually asked you when you got to the screening to make sure that you're happy to watch a subtitle movie. And he's like, well, yeah, and I'm glad they did because we left. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, we asked for a refund and we left. I was like, because it was subtitled. I was like, yeah. I was like, but you've gone all the way to the cinema. He's like, I don't care. We're not watching, what did you refer to it? Reading movies?
Yeah.
He's not watching reading movies. So yeah, some people are very, and I think they do say that at the cinema now when you buy the ticket. It's like, you are aware that this is a subtitled movie. So yeah, while we couldn't give a shit, some people are very upset. Yeah, so it is a barrier. It is a barrier.
It totally is. You miss out on some great films such as this, such as The Raid, such as
I'm not just missing out on The Raid because you don't want to read.
Us as 90s action films, action lovers as well. 90s Hard Boiled, John Woo's Hard Boiled.
We've got to cover a John Woo film for sure.
A John Woo film, a proper John Woo. We have covered John Woo.
A specific. Yeah, we've covered John Woo, but we've covered Hollywood John Woo. We haven't got Hard Boiled or Better Tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah, and I do think that you are right. It could have hindered this film What I do love about the premise of this, though, this is based on a short story its sequel. Yeah, a short story and its sequel about Santa herders, basically. How they used it, and then this is how they became the Santa herders of the short stories.
Is this movie is a prequel to 2 YouTube shorts, and the strangest thing about it is, if you're not aware of the 2 YouTube shorts, and honestly, I saw them years ago. I forgot that they existed.
Yeah.
Watching this film, the title of this movie doesn't make sense until the epilogue. It doesn't make sense. You watch the whole film, and you're like, rare exports. I was like, what the fuck has that got to do with anything? And it's literally after the movie's finished, there is an epilogue at the end, which is obviously a big nod to the YouTube shorts, where they start training the Santa's helpers or the elves to become Santas ostensibly. And
basically
that's when
Santas,
you see the box. And then you see the whole rare exports. You say, oh yeah, the title finally makes sense, because for 99% of this movie, it has nothing to do with what you're seeing on screen.
Well, and that's funny as well, because you said this film is 80 minutes long. 80 minutes.
No, it's specifically, and it's another one. It's 84 fucking minutes, man.
Okay.
What the fuck's 84. Going? Sorry, right, just for anyone who hasn't listened to our other Christmas podcasts this year, I just so happened to come across the fact that like so many Christmas movies are 84 minutes long. 84 minutes specifically. You think like how many 84-minute movies are there? Full stop. Hardly any. But yet, Christmas movies, there's a whole ton of them, and this is another one to add to the list.
And it's like they didn't even think about, oh, you know what, we'll give them some explanation. Like, the only person who knows what's going on about Santa what's his name, Riley? Yeah, the leader of Sub-Zero, or whatever that was, the drilling company.
During like the kind of very Thing-esque start of this movie, yeah.
Well, not even the Thing-esque start.
The Thing. Sorry.
Oh, the Thing. Sorry, I thought
as in John Carter. I'm just saying.
Sorry, that's fine. I thought you meant this was a bit thin. The beginning of the film.
No,
sorry,
no.
I do apologize.
But no, I was just suggesting that the opening is very beholden to the Thing. John Carter.
Thing-esque. I totally agree with you.
Sorry.
But yeah, he gives them the new rules that he's taken the time to have printed on like metallic. I don't know, signs to put everywhere. Mm-hmm. He gives the rules then to Rauno and what was it, Piperinen and Eino. And so
you've done pretty well there.
Thank you very much. My tongue slipped out of my mouth. But there's no actual explanation of the rules to anything else. Like, he knows Santa's down there, but nobody and Pietri knows Santa's down there. He got
where did he get all those fucking books from? I have to ask, where did Pietri
where the fuck's the library? They haven't even got an indoor toilet. He went and pissed outside and noticed that the thing was that, but they got a library with old books.
Say he's gone to town and there's a local library in that part of Lapland. He managed to find 18 books on Santa, the kind of horrific early, the kind of original, I don't know, kind of fairy tale based on, fairy tale theory on Santa,
Krampus.
Whatever you want to call it. Sorry, it is exactly that. It's Krampus.
Yeah. And just everything about the lack of information kind of leads us as well to a big downfall I think this film does have. Which is that we don't get a lot of Massive Santa. We don't get any Massive Santa. We get Massive Santa article.
I'm absolutely fine with that.
Yeah, I don't know if I am. I would like. Well, no, it's not that I don't know.
There is a specific reason.
Yes, probably budget and things like that.
It's the CG at the end. Yeah.
But I think because we could tell with the CG when Pietri's flying around and all the.
It's the weakest part of the film. Yeah, so I'm glad they kind of, we've said this so many times on this podcast.
I still think we needed a bit more threat from Massive Santa. I do think we needed some more threat from him. All right, getting chased by 198 old man Todgers is scary enough. I do agree with that.
Yeah,
but very scary.
But that's the thing; they're not committing to that. But obviously, Pietri is there, and he's being chased by the naked elves or whatever. We committing to the fact that they're elves.
They are elves. They keep calling them Santa's helpers, don't they? But
we'll just call them elves.
They're credited as elves.
Okay, we'll go with elves then. Yeah. But yeah, there's such a big emphasis on the giant Santa, and you see the horns and stuff like that. And if this movie had a bigger budget, I'd be all for it. But even despite the fact that they rein it in terms of what you see on screen, the limits of the budget and the technology at the time, you can see it on screen. So I'm glad we didn't get some horror show of, I mean, I'm trying to think of like Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a weird one to go to. But at the end of that, they bring in the big giant clown thing and it just looks like ass. It just doesn't work. So and of course they have CG. It might have worked a little bit better, but all the CG stuff at the end of this film is without question the weakest part of the film. And I'm just like, I would prefer to see less of it. And if anything, I thought the reason that this movie ostensibly worked as a horror is because for half the film, you think Santa, you think the old skinny creepy dude is Santa. It's that's ostensibly like a reveal almost.
Yeah, and then when you see more of them, I totally agree with you, right? That because of the budget, we're okay with not having Santa. I totally agree with you. But what I'm saying is, I felt it lacked. And I felt it needed more of him. He couldn't give it to us because of budget. I'm okay with that.
No, that's fair.
But I felt it needed more. It needed more of a threat from Big
at
Santa.
The end in particular.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a shame because when it's low key, it is threatening. Like when I think of like the most threatening, the best horror, like the best full on horror sequence in the film. Because if nothing else, one of the reasons I love this film is because I think it's so tonally spot on. For instance, it's like it's a black comedy, but it never winks the audience. It never devolves into parody. And like the best of its ilk, it's a horror first and foremost with just enough like self-awareness to make the, let's be clear, intrinsically ludicrous plot and premise work fundamentally. But when it does really lean into horror, and the best example of it is in the dad's abattoir, when they find what we think at that point is Santa.
Cleanest place in his entire house, by the way.
Yeah, without question. Yeah, his house is filthy, but his abattoir is absolutely spotless. But when he's like laying on the bed and he's all skinny, like for some odd reason, it makes him creepier. And when he's like, they think he's dead, but then he starts sniffing because like
when he's sniffing the gingerbread, he thinks he's sniffing the gingerbread. And,
that's all good. But the worst bit is when they come back after going to see the sheriff, and he's just sitting there in the corner, not doing shit. Yeah. You're like, that's creepy as fuck.
I totally get that, and that's creepy. But what I'm saying is, if they had the budget, how great would it be if they have Pietri hanging onto the net with all the kids, more kids than we've ever seen in this entire film, by the way, in that net.
Of course,
being chased by massive horned Santa. Like, I think that would be great. But again, that's budget constraints. But if we're looking at this film, I totally agree with you. We don't need it. We it shouldn't.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because on the one hand, I think we're both coming to the same conclusion here: is that it would be awesome to have that, but at the same time, we're glad it's not there because we just know they couldn't have pulled it off.
Yeah, don't push. And they did it right. They didn't push. Try to push the boundaries too much, or push past their constraints, which is absolutely fine.
Which we've said on this podcast loads of times. Like, how many movies where you're just like, listen, you either hit the limits of your budget or the technology, and they keep pushing back beyond it, and you're just like, it just looks hokey now. You should have just don't show it, cut away. Just kind of.
I mean, the argument
within your means, so to speak.
The argument that we always say is Jeepers Creepers. It was scarier when he was just the guy.
When you didn't see him.
Yeah, and I get that, but I totally agree with you. The big reveal at the end, I remember this vividly from when I first watched this 15 years ago. 2010, 15 years ago. I couldn't even do maths in my head then. Was that one Santa who you think is the bad? They've got him trapped in the back of the car. They've got him in a cage, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out, and then when Riley turns around and says, "Oh, no, by the way, that's just Santa's helper." And then you look around and he gets a pickaxe in the back of his head and you've got all the Santas. And then what made me laugh, what's
creepier than one old ass naked Santa? Fucking loads of them is what's creepier.
What made me laugh is when Pietri has his hero moment, which is perfect, by the way, his stand-up hero moment. Nobody's listened to him. He fires a shotgun and he manages to command everybody. He's such a good actor. They send Pippa in out to commandeer the chopper, and he is using gingerbread like hand grenades. For the first two he throws, he bites them first, like he's pulling the pin out with his teeth. Bite, throw, bite. Dude, I don't think you need to bite them.
And that's the thing again about how it like nails the premise, because I don't think this movie works if it doesn't have that sense of wonder, which largely comes from Pietri. It's like he's got like, because he's the one like they're fundamentally playing the whole concept of this like evil Santa and his like dominions, his minions against this one kid who actually believes in it. So he believes in it. So when it comes to his hero moment at the end, it actually feels believable. When he's telling like Yuso's dad, it's like, no, you listen to me now. It actually feels earned because no one else understands what's going on. No, everyone else is playing it by ear. But he's the one person who's like prepared for it to one extent or another.
And you've seen it where they pushed him aside. They've literally pushed him aside several times. Like his dad has just pushed him out of the way, pulled him back, done all this. Nobody will listen to him. And he knows exactly what is going on. He's finally stood up and said, no, you listen to me now. Everybody trust me. I'm an 8-year-old. I will hang onto the side of a chopper. It's side of a net hanging off a chopper. It's absolutely fine. I love his innocence as well, because as a 42-year-old man rewatching this who forgot a lot about it, when he tells Yuso to basically tape up his ass, put this on your ass and tape it up, I'm thinking, does he think Santa's going to fuck him? But it's not, is it? It's the innocence of it. It's basically he's just thinking, oh, Santa's going to cut me a switch and tan my ass. But it's like, it's not.
I hate to say I thought the exact same thing. And I was a little bit disgusted myself. I was like, wait, does he think Santa's going to try and have sex? I was like, oh, and of course, he thinks he's just going to like tan his ass. But yeah, my brain went there first originally, and I was just like a little bit appalled with myself. But I did love Pietri's get-up. I mentioned earlier the fact that this movie like kind of lends so much from 80s, kid-friendly horror cinema. And you even see that with like Pietri's like Get Up, because if you go back and watch any of these films, especially for like end of the world stuff, you're like, oh, what do? You find, as if from like nowhere, you find football gear. It's like he's got football pads. I don't know why he had. No, they'd be hockey pads over there, wouldn't they? Yeah, because he has the like Joma or whatever it is, like hockey helmet and stuff like that as well. So he's just basically wearing a whole bunch of hockey gear, and I don't know why that looks 80s. It just does, and it's fucking awesome.
So his dad even mentions, have you been playing hockey? But the reason why it looks 80s, it's because of the colors, the yellow, the red, the blue. It all feels
aesthetically, it feels purposeful, doesn't it? Just like as we said with the intro, and it's probably worth kind of mentioning that this movie, because we did mention the fact that the CG has a bit of a wobble at the end of the film, but for the most part, this is a really, really good looking movie. So it's directed by Jalmari Helander, but the cinematographer Mika Orasma, I think he did Iron Sky is probably the other film that he's done that some people might know.
But straight away, Iron Sky.
Yeah, I knew you would have seen it.
Yeah.
This film is like a very handsome looking movie. It's clearly all shot on location. You have those wide kind of cuts of the vistas. As I said, the opening is clearly an homage to The Thing to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And I was just like, when as soon as a movie starts, you're just like, it doesn't mean you're going to like it, but it's just an immediate tick. I think I said I had the same thing when I went to see Prey. My first complaint was when I put Prey on Disney Plus, I was like, oh, this should be on in the cinema. It's clearly too good looking to just be released on TV. And it was the same with this. I was just like, as soon as this started, I was like, oh yeah, this is just a good looking, well shot film. It's just interesting that Jalmari Helander, it's like, I just kind of forgot about him as a thing for years. And
because he disappeared for a long time.
Well, he did a big game, didn't he? With
Omni Tamila, Pietro, and Jorma Tamila as well. But they're brother-in-law. So Jorma and the director you just said, Jalmari. They're brother-in-laws, and obviously then Oni would be his nephew.
Yeah, his nephew. Yeah, and he stars in it alongside Samuel L. Jackson. And it's one of those movies I remember really looking forward to it. I went to see it. I think I quite enjoyed it. I had totally forgotten about it. If it hadn't been for researching this movie, I just would have forgotten that Big Game was a thing. Absolutely forgot that it was a thing. But obviously he's become more famous now, and similarly with his kind of, I don't want to call him his... well, I guess he is his muse almost, isn't he?
Yeah.
I guess he is his muse. With Sisu now, because and you can see that, like even in this film. So Jorma Tamila, who plays Rauno, he's got something about him. You can see he's like a talented actor. He doesn't get a huge number of lines, but they obviously mention the fact that his wife dies, and he's just all embittered rage below the surface. And you can see that he's just not cut out to be a dad or a single dad at all. And they don't do it with any dialogue. They just do it with his world-weary face.
Well, not just his face, mind him burning the gingerbread.
You mean like the most depressing Christmas day of all time?
Yeah. Him like. obviously that was probably the wife's tradition, making the gingerbread, and he's trying to keep it up, and he's burnt it. And to be fair, even like you said, his acting is perfect. His facial expressions are perfect because you can see it in his face, the shakiness in his face when a bear trap, a bear trap in the chimney, nearly took him out. Because after he finds out it was a bear trap and he said, this could have killed me, there's no explanation of why there's a bear trap in the chimney. The kid's trying to tell him, but it's not happening. And then he just sits there and he's shaking and he's just having a bit of a wobble.
Well, I mean, it's the whole thing about taking it quite seriously. Because again, you have those moments when it does have a kind of, elements of self-awareness. It's like the movie kind of pushes it's so silly that it has to have that moment. It's like when they find Santa and they're trying to decide what to do with him. And it suddenly cuts them. They're all just sitting in the abattoir and they're all just eating the burnt gingerbread together. Yeah. And, and that kind of deals with the fact that very quickly they just accept the fact that Santa exists. Because up until that point, it's all Pietri. He's the one who's he's buying into it. And of course he does because he's 10 years old and that's the whole point of it. But at some point, the narrative demands that the parents are also convinced that that is what they're dealing with. And they basically just do it almost immediately. Everyone's just like, oh, no, you're talking shit. And then just out of the blue, they're just like, well, for narrative purposes, we're just going to have to believe that this is the case. So we'll just, in a self-aware moment on screen, we'll just have us all sitting there eating gingerbread going, fuck, man, Santa exists. What the hell are we going to do now, And of course, part of the joke is it's not even Santa, it's an elf. But and that's one of the things I can't remember how big of a reveal that felt first time I watched this film. Because obviously, the way it's built up is, that's Santa. Santa's coming to fuck shit up and he's an old skinny dude who's able to bite brooms in half.
Yeah, Santa's been defrosted out of the ice. They brought him out of the ice. He's fallen into the bear trap and onto the bear trap, into the wolf trap. We've got Santa now. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is you're led to believe that that's the Santa they've dug out of the ice. That's the whole point of it. And then you get the reveal. Well, no, that's his helper. Then you get there's multiple Santas. So this Santa was sent to kidnap Pietro, but failed because he fell into the bear trap. But all the other Santas, all the other elves succeeded in their mission to kidnap all the kids. Even Finnish Willem Dafoe's kid, Yosef.
He does look like Finnish Willem Dafoe in fairness. Yeah, Yusuf's dad, yeah.
I was watching Amo this entire film. They brought him over because he can speak English. He got really upset because somebody stole all his sacks but left the potatoes.
Which just adds to how weird and creepy this film is.
But I'm like, well, how the fuck do I know him? How do I know him? Like, his face is so familiar. Then right at the end of the film, he pulls he takes his hat off to look at what they've done when they've penned all of the elves. And fuck me, that's Willem Dafoe. Like, if
it does look like a young Willem Dafoe.
It can't even say that's Willem Dafoe from Temu. That is Willem Dafoe cloned.
It's just the Finnish version.
Yeah, it is. It's Finnish Willem Dafoe. It's insane.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. You mentioned the fact that you get this kind of bait and switch where it's you think you're dealing with this, you're building up to this reveal of Santa, and I love the fact that early in the film they kill all the reindeer. You have that great shot, and there's something inherently creepy about when he finds just a footprint, but a human footprint, not in a boot, just a footprint. You're like, what the fuck is this guy doing out in the snow? And then of course they have all the build-up where this kind of what is this creepy Santa going to do? And it's actually the real Santa. But you almost forget that 50 minutes in, this turns into a hostage movie briefly.
Yeah.
That's the whole narrative for 20, 30 minutes. And I actually thought, rewatching it, that was going to be the narrative for the rest of the film. 50 minutes in, they suddenly decide, well, we've caught Santa. We can make the money back that we lost when all the reindeer were killed because of the hole in the fence. And you think, well, that's going to be it for the rest of it. And then, like you said, 2 minutes later, there are hundreds of elves and you realize Santa's a big, giant monster who we don't see. But I love that they kind of almost make up for it by having the giant door reveal. So, early in the film,
you mean the door that looked exactly like the door on the worst advent calendar I've ever seen?
Well, that was the thing, right? I've got a real soft spot for old-fashioned chocolate-free Christmas calendars. Yeah. I just like the aesthetic. At the same time, if I was a kid and I got one and it didn't have any chocolate in it, I don't get how adorable it looks. I'd be pretty pissed. But
yeah, it was calendar now, haven't you? You've got one now.
Of course, I've got one. Do you not have one?
I do have one because I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to this year, right? I'm not saying I'm like we're better than or anything like that, but I wasn't going to this year. But my son insisted that we have one. So the only reason we have an advent calendar is because my son insisted that we all had to have one. So,
oh no, I'm the one insisting. I'm like every year, without fail, we are having advent calendars for sure.
I mean, I've seen your Easter haul. So if anyone was having an advent calendar, it was going to be you. Yeah.
But to bring it back to capturing Santa or the elf, as it were, in the wolf pit, that's when you have to ask yourself, because he puts himself in a very specific situation. And I have had this conversation with you before. Basically, if you murdered someone, like, who would you call? Like we like I said, we had that conversation before. If you so this is a very specific situation. If you accidentally killed someone in a wolf pit, so at this point in the film, they don't know it's Santa. They just like, it's just a dude. They're looking to find a dude who snuck into the fence from the mountains and killed the reindeer. So he's like, fuck, man, I've accidentally killed this old motherfucker. And at that point, you've got to make that decision. Do you hand yourself over to the authorities, which clearly he has no interest in, or you call one of your friends to help you out of that situation? Who do you call? We've had that conversation. And if I murdered someone by accident, I'm like, I'm calling you. I'm calling you. And it's because, morally, there's a pretty big gray area with you, which I think is ideal. Physically, you're a good match. We said this before. It's one of the things you take for granted. You could have a Joe Pesci situation from Casino, a fucking Goodfellas. Like, oh, he's a psycho. He's going to take care of business. I'm fucking 6'7". Joe Pesci's like 5'4". What happens when you have to carry this body? It's going to be an absolute fucking travesty. So you need someone with enough moral gray area. You need someone trustworthy, but you also need someone who's going to match up with you size-wise, who can just deal with the situation. So 100% in that, if I kill someone in a wolf pit, I'm going to have to give you a call. Would I throw you under the bus the same way that is it Peperin? His name is. He totally throws him on the bus. So he phones him up. He shows up in his Santa suit. He's like, dude, I've got things to do. I'm in my Santa suit. And he's like, no, you're here now. You've seen the body. You're fucked, ostensibly. He's just like, you're in this now with me. End of story. I'm just like, man, that's some fucking cold-blooded shit.
Poor Piperinen as well, because he's left him there while he goes out to deal with everything. He's left him there for a while he's gone to get Amo. Find Pietri, because he's seen this and he's fucked off. He's jumped in with the sheriff. The greasiest sheriff I've ever seen, by the way.
And disappointingly, I'm pretty sure because this is a movie with just males. It's just a completely male world, and everyone has a beard. I was like, awesome. Everyone in Finland has a beard, and they just look dope. And then you see the sheriff. You're like, come on, man. What the fuck? You're the only guy without a beard. Sort your life out.
And then they get back, and Pipperinen's right, you dragged me into this. I was already in my Santa suit. I was ready to sort all this shit out. And I've been bitten by a fucking Santa. Like, he bit my ear off, ostensibly.
Yeah. He put a chunk of the bottom of his ear off, and everybody's so passive about it at that point. But that is the point of the film, when everybody just gets very chill about the situation. Like, well, he's had his ear bitten off. We're gonna, Santa is fucking real, and they immediately just get their business hats on. Like, I think we can make 85,000 out of this.
Yeah, I mean, that was Rauno all along, though, wasn't it? Like, everything to him was, I guess maybe he's got financial troubles that they haven't actually explained, because everything for him was the money side of it. Like, what? All right, you fucked us. We've been fucked over now.
Well, it comes back to the reindeer thing, doesn't it? Like, that's the whole premise of the film. Is like they make it very clear. They keep having this running joke about VAT 22%, and I'm just like, is that a nod to the YouTube? I have no fucking idea. But basically, it's just like, all right, somebody killed all of our reindeer. This was our kind of lifeblood. This is where we were going to make our money for the winter season. We are stuck out in the wilderness, and this was going to make us like 85,000 combined. It was going to get us through the winter. Clearly, as they made out, they don't have a great deal of money. So, they're just like, well, we need the money. So that's why he specifically says, obviously, 85,000, right? The other guy was just like, we could say 1 million, we could say 2. It's just like, no, we just want what he thinks he's owed. So he's trying to be kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say heroic is the term, but he's trying to like do the right thing while also doing the wrong thing, if that makes sense.
I get that. And then when I think it ended up being like 85,000 then per Santa at the end, didn't it? Which was
By then
million
they've committed to anything. Yeah.
I love that at the end as well, where Pietri is trying to get trying to be his dad. So he's like 129 Santas. How much is that worth, Uso? And Uso's like, fucking no. Like, I've been in a potato sack for the past 3 days. What the fuck do you mean?
Well, Yuso, yeah, I mean, Yuso's whole thing is like he becomes a bit of a pleb. I mean, I quite like the fact like their relationship earlier in the film, like it's quite non-standard because you think, oh, Yuso is playing that. I mentioned, sorry, I don't think I've actually got to my point about Yuso and why I actually liked him. The fact that this movie is so 80s in many respects, and he is the most 80s kid I think I've ever seen, who just so happens to not be from the 80s. Got the mullet, he's got the cigarette, he's got the dodgy gold earring, and he's a bit of a low-key bully. And I think in most movies, you'd see he'd be the dominant kid, and then Pietri would just kind of like, he'd be a little bit sheepish. But Pietri's just weird. Like, he just doesn't give a fuck about what Yuso's saying. Like, at one point, Yuso says, I will flog you if you tell your father, which is very old-fashioned, I might add. And even about that, he's just, like, totally, like, chilled about all these things. And that's the cool thing about Pietri. Like, he's like this little kid. He's kind of weird, but he's never really scared of anything. He's just kind of like he's like inherently, I guess, quite adventurous, isn't he? I guess the point is.
Uso reminds me of Monster Squad. I think his name was Lance, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you saved our lives, fat kid. My name is Lawrence or Horace or whatever his name was.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. This movie did remind me of, I mentioned like kind of Christmas horror and stuff like that, but it reminded me of movies like Gremlins, but also like the Monster Squad. And we mentioned at the top, the biggest issue with this film, and I'm going to come back to it one more time, is just the array of dicks. Because I genuinely think this movie would be more popular. And it's a weird choice, actually, because for the most part, this movie isn't massively violent. It hints at violence, but there isn't actually a great deal of violence. No. To the point where you're like, oh, it could be one of those movies where kids watch it because it's kind of scary, but it's never like over the top or anything. But at some point, you're just like, I don't know, man, maybe it's different because, in Finland, people often get into the saunas together. They get very naked. They do like the leaf things. So I think they're probably more comfortable being naked around each other and just seeing dicks. But if you want this to be popular in the UK is one thing, but certainly in the US where they're terrified of penises, it's just like, dude, you might as well just make this R-rated if you've got loads of old person dicks just flapping around on the film. I genuinely think that's one of the reasons that hasn't been more popular.
As I was watching this, I was thinking, could this be something, if I could find a dubbed copy, could this be something I could probably get Riley into?
Yeah,
and I was thinking,
but then there's dicks.
Then there's a lot of dicks, and I thought, I'm not going to have him watch this.
It's weird because, of course, they're from a distance. It shouldn't be a big deal. They're just dicks, just flapping about. They don't make a big deal of it.
They're from a distance until at the end when they shower them, and you've just got multiple dicks in the shower room,
which again shouldn't be a big issue because. The whole point is that, they live out in the wild. Of course, they don't wear clothes. Like, that's the whole point. They've been frozen in the ice for God knows how long. They wouldn't have any clothes. So narratively, it makes sense. But of course, as a society, we just have an issue with just seeing dicks on TV. We're just not accustomed to it. We're just not accustomed to it. I was surprised to see it again. I was like, they're just showing all the dicks. And that is the scene that stood out for me as well, bizarrely, because you see them from a distance, but when they're all having a shower, just like, oh, yeah, they all are. They're not.
There's some Santa dicks. I tell you the one thing.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
I was going to say the one thing this film has done for me is it's now opened up it's just opened up the doors for what we can do on this podcast because we don't shy away from reading films, as we already said. We don't shy away from it.
We're open to the concept of a reading film for sure.
But for some reason, I've never chosen for us to do Dead Snow. I've always shied away from it. I love that film. I love Dead Snow. I love Dead Snow 2. I've always shied away from picking them on this. Now we've watched this, and I thought, you know what we can do next or soon is Dead Snow. We could do some Nazi zombies on this fucking podcast.
Because you might know this film. So usually when we do these films, you might be watching it on Tubi or you might be watching it on Amazon or anything. And all these platforms, they all kind of immediately start playing the next film, and they just pick one for you. The film I got straight after this was a 2015 movie starring Bill Shatner, of all people, called A Christmas Horror Story. And it's a Canadian anthology movie. And I had never heard of it. And I was like, is this going to be sorry, I don't want to shit on your choice from last week, but is this going to be Jack Frost-esque nonsense? But I checked online, the reviews are really good. And I'm a big fan of William Shatner. And suddenly I'm just like, I might have to watch A Christmas Horror Story this year.
I haven't seen it. I have heard of it. And it popped up for me as well. I watched it on. I watched Rare Exports on Amazon Prime, and Christmas Horror Story was the next one that popped up, ready to.
So it's the same, because I watched it on Amazon as well. So maybe it's just one of those things. But yeah, I think it's not our first. I was going to say we haven't done many. I'm going to keep calling them reading movies now, subtitled foreign movies. The only other one I can think of was like Akira, but I think I watched it because I become accustomed to it at a young age. I always watch the dub version of Akira, and it's I'm not saying it's better than the Jap because if I'm watching an animated movie now from Japan, my intrinsically I'm like, well, I'll watch it in its native language. But I grew up watching Akira in English, so I'm just so used to it now that I find it weird watching it in Japanese because I'm just so accustomed to what the characters sound like. But I was like, all right, so if that was English language, I was like, is this literally and accidentally our first foreign language movie that we've done after like 250 podcasts almost?
Trying to rack my brain. I think it might well be.
It might be, man.
Yeah.
See, we're all talk about, are we like reading movies? We're Luddites. Clearly. Yeah. We just don't want to admit it.
No, what we do, we don't want to alienate the audience. That's what we want to do. We don't want to alienate.
Yeah, don't say that because what that just sounds like is we have no faith in our audience. We think they don't like to read, so we just play it safe. We're just going to blame them for our own deficiencies and shortcomings.
We know a few of our audience.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I apologize that I'm going to steal this from you because you usually bring this up on the podcast, but there is a pretty severe case in this film of Chekhov's reindeer pen, isn't there? Early in the film.
Yeah.
You see the reindeer pen, they make a big fuss to turn it on, and you're just like, well, that's going to play a part, isn't it? When it's just like narratively, it just doesn't need to be there in that moment. So you're just like, God, they're making a big deal about this reindeer pen. It's like, that's going to come back. And so it does in admittedly, the weakest part of the film.
Yeah. Well, when they turned it on, I thought they tasered the world. Like, Jesus Christ, that was a lot of electricity to run. Like, when they turned it on, I didn't see him turn it off. And then Rauno's leaning against it, going, electric fence? Nice. Like, what? You're leaning against it.
I feel like he's just kind of rolling the dice there. But yeah, they really do make a big deal out of it. And, I've kind of shot on the end a few times. And it's not, like you said, not conceptually, it's a good idea. I think it's fundamentally a solid ending. It's just the CG isn't there. In its defense, the two things it does have, the giant, well, not just two things. There are a few things I think really work towards the end. The giant door thing, because we got caught up in the whole, calendars like chocolate shit thing.
Yeah.
I love the kind of, the mirror image of his calendar door and then just seeing the huge hanger with the 24. The explosion when they blow up Santa at the end looks phenomenal. Looks so good.
Seeing it in Rauno's face, Mike. Like you see the explosion. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do with the horns or why they decided they needed to cut them off, but okay, that's fine.
It was cool though that they cut them off. That was a cool move.
Because he sat either side of it. Either side of the horns, like he's sitting in the middle of them. Sorry, he's not sat either side. They're sat either side of him. And then you said the explosion, and it's just in his face, and you can just see as he's watching the colours in his face as the explosion happens. It looked beautiful. I will give you that. But I
thought we might get another sneaky reference to Blade Runner like we did. And I still can't believe that there was a Blade Runner reference in 1997's Jack Frost. Unbelievable.
Well, what I did have a problem with was that looked great. But then that was intercut then with the poor CGI helicopter.
And
so are you done? Can we move on to Rob Take, or is there anything else you want to cover?
I don't think so. I just have the quickest of bolster. Let's just move on to Rob's Take. If something pops into my head, I'll just fucking say it anyway. That's what I usually do.
That's fine. Because the reason why I wanted to go straight into Rob's Take, because Rob's Take was I couldn't get over the fact that whole ending with Pietro hanging onto the net of the helicopter with all the kids in there. He would have been thrown off within 15 seconds. Not only would he probably have not had the grip and held on, and if this 8-year-old somehow seems to have the grip of Nathan Drake hanging off the edge of a cliff in Uncharted. I get it. That's fine. It's like super grip. Then as soon as Pippa Rennin, Jesus Christ, Pip.
Yeah, it's fair. His name is the hardest to get right, without question.
As soon as he starts doing some commando-style airwolf moves with the net, Pietro should have been flying at that point. He should have landed on a tree. I just couldn't get over the fact that and that's what was taking me out of it. I was happy with his hero moment. I was happy with all of this.
Me too.
But then it was just like, oh my God. And you've turned him into the hero and he's doing great and he's leading the charge and everyone's like he's the general in all this. But he'd be fucking dead. He'd be dead.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a shame because, like you said, the scene in the hangar when you suddenly have like all the ovens, the radiators, the kids in the sacks, it's all like wonderfully weird Like on an aesthetic level, it's just creepy. The fact that they stole all the hairdryers and they're all there because they're defrosting a giant Santa. You're just like, oh, this is just, it's like taking something conceptually that you're familiar with and just doing it in a slightly unique way. Again, narratively, it makes sense. Of course, ovens, fucking hair dryers, they're all warm, but there's something about that that as an aesthetic which sets this film apart. It's like early in the film, like you said, when he says, oh, I've had all my sacks stolen, and he goes into the garage or whatever it is, and it's just tons of potatoes. That shouldn't be creepy, but it is, and all the low-key stuff really works. But like you said, because they were able to do CG, they really start swinging for the fences. And like you said, beyond the fact that it doesn't work purely from an aesthetic level because the CG isn't quite good enough, they start really forcing, they're like, oh, let's do like a big action sequence. And you're just like, but this kid's hanging on the side. And of course, then you see in this CG sequence, and they do a crash cut to Pietri, like hanging from the side. And he's just like whooping and hollering like it's the easiest thing in the world. Like, dude, at least fucking hang on, dude. Like, you are in a lot of danger. And the dude, Piperinin, he's flying the helicopter. It's his, like, best friend's son hanging off the bottom. And he's just like, yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fucking fine. Well, like, dude, I'm not sure he will be at all.
He's been given his action moment. He saluted them all as he left. Oh, no, that was right at the end, wasn't it? When he was, he saluted them when...
Yeah, that was during the epilogue.
Yeah. My other Rob take as well, because you already mentioned it. You said about the heating. They were trying to defrost Santa. You've got the hairdryers, the portable radiators, the ovens.
The ovens, all that jazz, yeah.
The ovens. The gas ovens that they have stolen and turned on.
Well, let's say they're electric ovens.
They were not electric ovens. They were gas ovens.
But even if, say we give them the benefit of the doubt, and we say, okay, they're electric ovens. What are they all fucking plugged into? What are they all plugged into? It doesn't work either way.
And also, they all pick those hot things up to barricade the door with no problem. It's like barricade the door. I'll just pick this hot thing up and just move it. Like, not one of them went, you know what, this is a bit warm.
Yeah, there would be an issue there. They seem to just kind of start throwing them against the door. It's just like they've been on presumably for days by this point.
Yeah,
defrosting this giant Santa. So yeah, I suspect they would have been pretty hot to the touch. But yeah, they just kind of get on with it. So yeah, that's a solid Rob take this week. Solid Rob take. That leads us into favorite scene. I could pick any number of sequences, but for me, it really is, and I mentioned earlier, the Carpenter-esque sequence of the Santa/elf in the abattoir. It's like I said, it's the most genuinely horrific moment in the film. It's super creepy. So, they're beyond the nods to other 80s kind of, family-friendly horror films. Clearly, The Thing has been a big influence on that film. And even the way that shot felt like it could have been taken directly out of a John Carpenter film. Gorgeous, like so much of this film is gorgeously shot, but they just ramp up the creep. That could be like a nothing sequence, but the way they shoot that creepy old elf, like the close-ups, and even the bit when they think he's dead and he's sniffing away at the gingerbread, and then when Pietri is at the window and he starts sniffing again and he kind of almost wakes up. I actually, like I said, I think the best bit is when they all come back and he's just crouched over in the corner. He doesn't really do anything, but I'm just like, no, I am fucking bouncing as soon as I see that. So yeah, that's my favorite sequence.
It's a great sequence. Mine is Pietri's hero moment, which I've already mentioned. The climax where Pietri takes charge, he's rallying the adults and he's facing down the myth head on. It's the film's emotional core. His bravery flips the script. It's turning that terrified child into the unlikely leader who saves Christmas. It's equal parts triumphant and surreal. It cements him as the best, worst hero of holiday horror. Like, he is... He shouldn't be. Well, he is the worst hero to have, isn't he? He's an 8-year-old kid. I'm going with 8, but he's the kid you follow apparently. And you've already said it. He's done his research. He's gone to the library that doesn't exist. He's got all the books he needs. About it. So
is in a lesser film, I think. Pietri suddenly becoming the hero at the end and telling Yuso's dad to he literally says stay out of this, when he tries to kind of pipe up, and like you said, he has the shotgun moment. I think it could feel really cheesy and out of place in another film. In this, as ludicrous as it is, it feels narratively justified that Pietri is basically running the show at the end, because everyone else is just kind of terrified. Like you said, he's the only person prepared for this, and he straight away he's like, you might be grown-ups, I'm the only one with a plan. and no one has a better idea. Like I don't know what to do, but he's got a plan. So let's just follow Pietri into battle, and it just totally works out. So yeah, great shout. And honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that mentally I associate that with the CG heavy finale, that might be my favorite sequence. Because when he shot the shotgun, and he's just like, and like you say, the way the camera shoots him like he's an action, movie star. I was like, oh yeah, I absolutely fucking love this.
Yeah.
But
because apparently
he's hanging from a helicopter.
As well, for us, that was literally, we say Chekhov a lot. That was Chekhov's gun. That the whole trope, Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Yuso said, "Can you even fire that thing?" Of course, I can fire it. It's on his back for fucking all of the film, and all of a sudden he shoots it. He doesn't shoot it at anything; he just shoots at the sky. But it had to be used. You saw it; it has to be used.
It has to be used. And I do want to just a special mention to one of the great, movie epilogues that I can think of modern times. I say modern times. It's weird because I think of this as being like a contemporary Christmas movie. And we mentioned before how kind of culture and technology has flattened out. Because if I'd watch this, say, like, I'm thinking of like a movie like Scrooge, for instance, which I watched when I was younger. When was that? Like released 87 or something?
88?
88. So that's the equivalent of watching that in 2000. So, I would have watched that in 2003. I can tell you this much. When I was watching that in 2003, at no point did I think that was a contemporary movie. That was an 80s movie. I don't watch this and go, oh, it's a noughties movie or anything like that, or a tens movie. And I think part of it is, like I said, it's beautifully shot and it's wonderfully timeless. Like there's no like mobile phones. There's nothing to age this film other than, and I know we've banged on about it a few times, other than the slightly dodgy CGI, which you can put down to the budget more than the time, nothing else ages this film. It could have been made yesterday, which is absolutely fantastic for a movie of this ilk, which means, hopefully it'll look just as good 10, 15 years from now as well. But yeah, sorry, to get back to the point, that training epilogue at the end is absolutely fantastic when they're training up all the elves to be Santas that they can send off. It's like, and one of the Santas like shaking a box, like there's nothing in there for you, Fuzzface. It's just like it kind of truly leans into the absurdity of the premise, but wait until the epilogue to do it, and obviously that kind of leads in then to the YouTube shorts and stuff. So great epilogue. I just want to give that a shout. So Oscar season, in which we hand out 3 Oscars and 3 Razzies in categories of our choosing. Am I okay to go first for the Oscars?
Yeah, please feel free.
Yeah, cool. Yep. All right, so firstly, the Oscar for commitment to beards goes to Finland, or more specifically, Lapland. As I mentioned earlier, this is a dude-only movie, and short of young Pietri, all sporting beards. Oh, other than, we did mention earlier, the sheriff played by the disappointingly beardless Risto Salmi. So other than Risto, everyone else has a beard in this film.
Greasiest sheriff I've ever seen.
Like, he is a greasy motherfucker. Yeah, he's the Brian Dennehy of... Finnish cinema, I think.
Yeah.
Is it Brian Dennehy who's the sheriff in Rambo First Blood Part 1?
Yes.
Am I mixing that up?
No, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Brian Dennehy.
Yeah. He is slimy in a different way, but yeah, he's a son of a bitch. The Oscar for creepiest Santa who isn't actually Santa goes to his little helpers. Again, for all the talk of the giant Santa, I loved how creepy his little helpers were. And when they dressed him up as Santa and put him in the cage, like cinematic brilliance as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And 3, the Oscar for most 80s kid who just happens to not be from the 80s goes to Yuso and his wonderful combo of mullet, underage smoking, dodgy earring, and low-key bullying. So I know I mentioned earlier, but he's getting an Oscar all the same. So
no, it's fine.
That's my 3.
I've mentioned a couple of things that are going to get Oscars as well, so don't you worry about that. So best performance by a myth in a leading role is the Dark Santa folklore. I mean, forget Coca-Cola's cheery mascot. This Santa is ancient, terrifying, and rooted in punishment. A folklore twist that redefines Christmas horror.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I love the fact that aesthetically, that sorry, just to butt in quickly, that they have their cake and eat it. The moment in the cage when they dress him up as Santa, the elf, that still works. But of course, they don't lean into that mythology. It's like like you said earlier, it's like this is the Krampus turned into Santa Claus, but you still have that moment all the same, which is cool.
Yeah. Number 2 is the best version of Willem Dafoe ever. The winner, Tommy Capella as Amo. With his sharp features, intense delivery, and uncanny Dafoe-like aura, he feels like a parallel universe Willem. He grounds the absurdity of gravitas, making every scene feel both surreal and credible.
Yeah, and that is the thing. I know we've mentioned a few times, Jorma Tommila as Ragnar. There's a reason that he's in Suso, and he's kind of a leading man.
Yeah,
everyone in this film is good. Everyone in this movie is good.
Yeah,
It's a small cast. There's only like a few people, but they all pull their weight. That's for sure.
And number 3, the best version of a lesbian auntie on TV goes to Ilmari Yavanport as Yuso in this film. When I first saw that dude, I thought that he went up with his lesbian auntie. When I saw the mullet and the earring, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah, he looks like a lesbian auntie.
No, I think he can be both. I think he can look 80s and he can look like a lesbian auntie. It's like when you see that picture, it's all over the internet now, is a picture of peak Mel Gibson from like, I think the picture's probably from like the late 80s, and he's on a talk show, he's got his huge mullet and he's smoking a cigarette, and he said, everybody's mother on Christmas Day watching you open your presents.
Yeah.
You can both look like an 80s action hero and look like a lesbian or a mother, watching the kids open presents at Christmas. There's just something about that look. But yeah, Yuso looks like an 80s kid, and he looks like a lesbian, but that's the 80s for you.
Yeah.
As for the Razzies, the Razzie for more dicks than are necessary goes to Rare Exports and its overabundance of old man cock. I don't think I need to explain that. The Razzie for worst Christmas dinner goes to the Cuntio family and their gingerbread-centric main meal. So not only did they only eat gingerbread, but the gingerbread was also burnt. So yeah, as far as Christmas dinners go, in a lot of movies, you think of like Christmas Vacation when they cut open the turkey and it's just all hot air.
Yeah.
I think this takes the biscuit, no pun intended, of worst Christmas dinner of all time.
Yeah.
And the Razzie, sadly, for dodgiest CGI in an otherwise awesome movie goes to Rare Exports for the reasons we've already discussed.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like the CGI did let it down, but it was used sparingly, so I'm okay with it because there wasn't a lot of it. Yeah, for me, the worst excavation safety protocol has to go to the Sub-Zero Corporation. You've got explosives, no smoking rules, and zero common sense. You're digging up Santa without a plan. Corporate Darwinism at its finest.
Yeah, they seem poorly prepared for the whole situation. Other than having a few signs, they're just like, you've got to be nice. Don't be a dick. That's like the main rule. But if I knew for a fact that I was cutting Santa Claus out of the ice, I'm like, I'd probably take greater safety precautions.
The Razzie for the least festive Christmas Eve goes to Rauno Harrington and Co. Instead of mulled wine and carols, they're wrangling naked elves and plotting ransom schemes. I mean, merry chaos.
Yep. All for it. Although it sounds fun, memorable.
Yeah. And number 3, the most old man penis award goes to the Rampaging Elves, a surreal parade of frosty nudity. Finland gave us the only horror film where elf attack doubles as streaking Olympics.
Yeah, well, we've both got a Razzie for basically just too many dicks in this film, but it is what it is. Any alternative titles for the short? And I hope there are, because as I said, unless you're aware of the short, the title for this film doesn't make sense. Like I said, it does in the epilogue. But until then, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not a great title.
I mean, we've got A Christmas Tale Rare Exports for Germany, so they've just reversed it.
Fair enough.
Poland Rare Exports A Christmas Carol. Romania Christmas Story. Russia.
Actually, just putting quickly, I actually think Germany got it right. I think just by putting it the other way around, you're like, it's a Christmas story. So everyone's, it's a Christmas film. And then you throw Rare Exports as a reference to what it actually is at the end.
Yeah.
But I think you kind of bury the lead by calling it Rare Exports.
Russia, Santa for Sale.
Mm-hmm. That's
Spain, A Hooligan Christmas Story.
No, it's terrible.
Taiwan, Christmas Bad Music.
Okay, sure, Thailand.
Ukraine, Santa on Sale.
Yeah, it's not bad. Although you're kind of giving away the plot, but sure.
Vietnam, Variant Santa Claus.
Not great this week. No. I'm going to give it for Germany for just moving them around. So basically, you've got all the best bits of the title just in a different order. That's great. Any facts for this movie?
Yeah, same again for like the third one in a row where we've got like 3 facts and we've said most of them. Rauno and Pietri are played by real life father and son. I mean, this is a fact. Brian Green's passport number is 314159265, the first several digits of pi.
Fuck that. Is that really one of the facts?
Yeah.
I mean, right, even if that's made up, it's quite imaginative. So yeah, thumbs up here.
Pietri's stuffed animal Vuppe translates from Finnish into English as woof.
Yeah, sorry, I had that listed down. We've got to mention the whole Vuppe thing is very strange, right?
Yeah.
It's very fucking strange.
They're trying to get prove to you he has childlike innocence, isn't he? He still talks to his stuffed animal. That's what they're trying to do.
But it's the ugliest stuffed animal I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, but again, look where he was living. It's not like he was being given the best. It's probably something his mum knitted for him, and they're just not we don't know that. So
See, I'm trying to convince myself now, like, no, because I think the car was quite modern. It's like, could this have actually been set in the 80s? But because I think one of the reasons I'm thinking that is because of the way that Pietri is just wandering around the house in his very 80s style underwear. Like when I see him in the wearing his underwear, it just reminds me of late 80s gym class. They've just got that look about them.
What's the joke? The 80s got to Eastern Europe in like 2010, so maybe.
Maybe that's the ticket. Yeah. Maybe all the kids are just wearing really old-fashioned underwear over there. I don't need to know if that's correct or wrong.
The last fact is this is one of Cate Blanchett's favorite films. There you go. We know Cate Blanchett loves this film.
There we go. And I think it is held in relatively high regard. Like, I think for some people it'd be niche, but I think for those who do watch it, we were talking recently about, I think Empire did top 30 Christmas movies of all time. And the reason I brought it up was because the top 15 in particular was literally my top 15 Christmas movies, almost exactly, albeit in a slightly different order. But I'm like, I think the 15 might be my 15. And Rare Exports was on the list. I think it was like 18 or 19. But even the review said, like, it's a weird film, but they suspect it'll kind of move up on the list in the years to come as more people find it. Because, for the reasons we mentioned, there are barriers to entry. It is in Finnish. There are too many dicks. But eventually, I think people will be like, don't worry about the dicks in the Finnish. This is a really good fucking movie. So, it is popular with people who watch it. It's just getting more people to see it, I think.
Yeah.
And that's the facts, yeah? That was the facts.
That's all of the facts, yeah. I can't give you any more than that.
Fair enough. Hope to the future. So remake, sequel, Let It Die or Leave Well Alone. For me, it's Leave Well Alone. However, and I think we have mentioned this previously, how do you feel about the concept of touching up CG? So, and I don't mean like AI or any of that box, and I'm not talking about what Steven Spielberg did when he's gone in and he's changed and added things. I'm talking about get the original artist to come in with a bit more money and, improve technology and just take the scenes that already exist and just improve them. Just make them look a bit better. So nothing changes other than the effects look a bit better. And I know there's like, you can talk about film preservation and the history of films and, the original vision and stuff. But I think in instances like this, like if someone said, oh, we're going to just touch up the CG on that, I'm like, I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I'd be all right with that. But I mean, I'd say just leave it well alone. I mean,
that is the correct answer.
It's fun to watch. I really like it. I don't need a sequel of this. I don't need to know what happens when, I guess, Mrs. Claus comes out of the ice or whatever happens.
We know what the sequel is. The sequel is the shorts.
Well, yeah, but that's just them then preparing Santas to go on, isn't it?
But that's the thing. Yeah. There is no more story like that.
But that's what I'm saying. But somebody's going to say, "Oh, Mrs. Claus is now buried in the ice, and she's come out, so she's defrosted."
We don't need that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't need any of that. I just leave this alone. This was fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. I'll enjoy it again when I watch it in another 10, 20 years, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I was just trying to force the conversation towards the whole CG thing, just because I think it's one of those like interesting gray areas where it's like, yeah, if you're adding things, you don't want to be doing that. But just like, people don't realize, say, if we take it back to Star Wars, everyone gets caught up on the fact that he added things and they're all bullshit. But that film had the visual effects quietly updated. Like there were issues where, you could see through certain parts and, like certain monsters, you could see the kind of black outline. You think of like 80s cinema. I was like, mostly it was fine when you're in space, but when they had the sequence in Empire Strikes Back on Hoth, of course, everything's white. So you could see the black lines. In like the most recent cuts of it, those black lines have been digitally removed. It's all very subtle, but it just makes the film look a little bit more modern without losing the essence of the film. But anyway, it's a conversation for another day. In terms of making a change, so if you could only make one change to make the movie better, fuck, I just said it's a conversation for another day. I'm going to say tidy up the CG. Fuck, that or less dick, maybe. I don't know. One of those two.
No, I get that. But I'd be all right with them touching up the CG. But I think what you just explained with the whole Star Wars stuff is like removing the white because it's in space, things like that. But I think there's even though it's not a lot, there's too much CG to touch up. What are you touching up?
I know what you mean.
There's a lot of Santas running through the forest. You're not really... You can't really touch.
Just make them look a bit better.
And I wonder if that's what they have to do. They'd have to do the CG. It's not touching up. They'd have to do the CG over again. They'd have to. Yeah, they'd have to make that whole thing CG and then try and cut in.
The Star Wars was its poor example.
Yeah, and then try and cut in Pietri. So I do think it's let down by the CG. I really do. Mm-hmm. But I also think that if you try to mess with it in this case, I think it'd make it worse. You either remake it or redo it again, which none of us want, or you just leave it alone a bit. I mean, and I get your disheartenedness with it. It's let down by the CG. Absolutely, it's let down with the helicopter that pretty much goes upside down.
Out of the film.
Yeah, I totally get it.
That was the big issue. I was totally invested in the movie, and it just took me out of it briefly.
I don't think you're saving it. I do not think you're saving that part to make the rest of the film for you by saying the CG needs to be touched up.
So was the answer less dick then? Are we going to say less dick?
Well, I'd say.
Oh, no, I say keep the dick in it. I say keep the dick in it, actually. I'm going to stick to my gun.
No, my change was improve Ray Expo is to improve the film is give the massive Frozen Santa more. And again, this this leads to the same argument that you had in regards to budget. Because I think personally that I needed more massive direct threat, from Massive Santa. He looms in the background as a concept, but he's never fully manifested. Can you imagine if his chains strain, his eyes flicker open, the ice cracks, anything like that? But we don't get any of that.
I think that's actually the right middle ground. I think rather than, because when you were saying initially, I kind of envisioned this world where he gets out the ice and he starts running
and he's chasing him down the runway, and that's a bit much.
But we don't need that. Because I still want the explosion. Because the explosion at the hangar looks so amazing. But I agree with you. I think without kind of pushing the boat out too much in terms of budget, like you said, you could have had more of a hint that he was waking up, and like just a hint at what he actually looks like beyond the horn. So it's like you said, the ice starts to crack. You see a bit of movement, and there's this hint. It's like, fuck, this guy's going to escape. Because at the end, it just almost seems too easy. Like Pietri obviously has like the danger where he goes into the pen and he thinks he's going to be stuck, and all the old elves are going to dick him up or whatever the hell they're going to do. But back at the hangar, there's no threat. They just kind of place all the bombs and then they bounce. Yeah, I agree that they should have been at least a kind of time there where if we don't get this done now, this guy's going to fucking wake up and there's going to be all hell breaking loose. So yeah, I do agree with you. So let's go with that for make a change.
Cool.
In terms of video games, unsurprisingly, there wasn't a Rare Exports A Christmas Story video game. I think this makes sense. I was going to go for Crystal Dynamics and the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot. So I'd move it from fictional Japanese island of Yamatai. I'd obviously move it to Lapland. And I'd just have you hunting elves for your Santa business, ostensibly. Kind of like survival-based, like a survival-based collectathon. Like Tomb Raider crossed with Pokemon, ostensibly. But, and I kind of want to keep it in the Tomb Raider world because I love that game, the 2013 reboot. Just with a bit more black humor, basically. And less Lara Croft dying horrendous deaths. Because I think everyone's forgotten about just how fucked up that first reboot was. The death sequences in the 2013 reboot of Tomb Raider. And I think they've actually re-released it very recently for the Nintendo Switch 2. It's still a fantastic game, but the death sequences are an ordeal.
I mean, it's a good shout. I went somewhere else. So let me tell you the parallels and then see if you get the game. Right. Okay. Father-son dynamic, myth reimagined. Instead of Norse mythology, it's God of War Ragnarok. God of War, It is literally Santa Monica Studios God of War Ragnarok. You've got, instead of obviously Kratos and Atreus, you've got Rauno and Pietri, and they have that little. They have the same dynamic that Kratos and Atreus have as well in regards to the father.
They do.
Yeah,
he's the right age and everything.
Yeah, you've got the Norse mythology as well in regards, but you don't need that. You have the Krampus mythology or the Santa mythology. It would be perfect for Finland as well. You've already got the ice everywhere in Fimbulwinter. The boss battle potential with Massive Santa is already happened in God of War. It's fucking God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I don't know what I was thinking. It was a terrible shot. I mean, I think basically I read about Tomb Raider 2013 recently. It's just stuck in my head, but the correct answer is the God of War remake. So, no, not a remake. It is a sequel. But it's just, the kind of modern interpretation of God of War. Let's just put it at that.
Yeah. So the latest God of Wars, I would say, yeah.
I'm getting fucking trounced on the video game section. Video games is supposed to be my thing. Ridiculous. Best and worst of IMDb. So this is where we take a random 10-star and 1-star review for this movie. Before we do that, I guess how many reviews there are. I've been well off recently with the number of reviews. And that's written reviews for this movie. 200?
149.
Okay, I wasn't too far off. I mean, I'm a fair bit off, but it's not a complete disgrace.
How many 10 stars?
149. I think a lot of people really like this film, man. I'm going to say 31.
15. So not too much.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I thought there'd be more than
that. Right, so this was written in December 2021, titled I Love a Good Scandinavian Yuletide.
Naturally.
Yeah. I flippin' love this movie. It's so well done. It's actually believable. I have never lived in Finland, but I did live in Denmark. And I actually met guys like these, hard men like Rauno, who make gingerbread in their long johns. People who live in houses like that. It's so realistic. The acting is phenomenal. The scene where Rauno is feeding Pietri gingerbread and trying to hide the fact that he's crying is truly beautiful. Amo speaking English, trying to get info out of the elf is so funny. Pietri crying and telling his dad that it's his fault the reindeer are dead is perfect. Pipparinen's anguished shout when Pietri jumps is gut-wrenching, and the training of the new Santas, chef's kiss. I watch this movie every December and I never get tired of it.
It's a great chat. And to be honest, we should have mentioned all those moments in the film, which I don't think we actually covered on this podcast, as we kind of jump from the start to the finish, back to the middle, and then back to the end again. But I fundamentally agree with pretty much everything you said there. 1-star reviews.
1 star.
Are we going to end up with a lot of people who are just like, it was in Finnish and I fucking don't do reading movies? See, I'm very concerned about this because a few weeks ago we did Dead End, as surprisingly enough, as a Christmas movie, and I was shocked to see that as many people gave that 1 star as they did 10 stars. So I don't know anything anymore. My faith in humanity has been shook to the core. I'm going to say 7.
Oh, dude, 6.
Oh, it's pretty close. Yeah. At least it's less than 15. That's good.
This was written in August 2019, titled "What Did I Just Saw?"
What did I just saw?
What did I just saw?
Fantastic. Good start.
I understand the black idea about Christmas, sad stuff, but the movie does not make sense at all. Stuff are happening without any logic at all. The main kid is an adult thinking now, and next second is the village idiot. Bipolar actions. Last 30% of the movie contains lots of old naked men. For what? Nothing is explained there. Nothing is made to make sense. The numbers of positive reviews made me watch the full movie, but I really don't understand how could somebody classify this nonsense above a 2. Either is full cast of old men voting rating here on the north part of Europe has a strange way to think, and they consider it funny or something. For the rest of Europe, don't bother. Wasted time that I want back.
Just as a reminder to everyone, we often have to do this, is that Rob is reading these verbatim. He's not having a stroke. It's unsurprisingly another 1-star review, which reads like it was written by an absolute fucking lunatic. We get so many of those. Yeah. Well, I disagree with all that, so we'll just move on because there's no point in trying to make sense of that 1-star review.
None at all.
It does, however, lead us into our own ratings and recommendations. I suspect we might be in the same ballpark here. It's a easy 4 and a yes for me, like comfortably a 4-star, and I have recommended this movie to other people, and I will continue to do so, dicks and all. So 4 and a yes for me.
Absolutely the same for me. It's a 4, and yes, I have recommended it previously. I've already said that I recommended it to Dave. We watched it, he enjoyed it, and I will recommend it going forward. I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and I will enjoy this film.
Yeah, it's weird that we both have the same experience with it. Like, we both watched it when it came out, 2010. We both really enjoyed it, and then it just kind of fell off the radar. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, it popped into my head. I was like, oh, we should cover it for the podcast. And now I'm like, why aren't I watching this movie every few years at Christmas? But I think part of the problem isn't even necessarily the quality of this film. I think everyone gets, to an extent, stuck in their ways at Christmas. I'm not sure if you're the same, but I'm like, every year, I'm like, there's 5 or 6 movies which I'm watching. I have to watch Die Hard, I have to watch Christmas Vacation, I have to watch Scrooge, I have to watch Muppets Christmas Carol, and like Die Hard, and Lethal Weapon or something.
No, that's exactly right. And that's what I wanted to say. Basically, yes, this film is good. Yes, it's a Christmas movie. But for us, it's not a nostalgic Christmas movie. It's not the movie that we grew up with. So we have the nostalgia. It makes us feel these ways, and that's why we go back. And Scrooged every Christmas Eve, it makes me think of my old man. We watch Scrooged every Christmas Eve. We do it now in this house, my wife and I. And when Riley's old enough, bless him, if he wants to stick around, he can watch Scrooge with us. But what I mean is stick around in the living room. I don't mean stick around in my house. I'm not going to kick him out because he doesn't want to watch Scrooge. But
yeah, I thought it kind of read a little bit like that, so to speak.
But this film, like, I loved it. I will watch it again, but it's not one I've gone, do you know what I want to watch this Christmas? I want to watch Rare Exports. It's like I don't want to sit there and watch Krampus or anything. Like, there's types of Santa's Sleigh, because I picked that one, didn't I, a couple of years ago. You won't let me forget.
I think the important thing, because, right, see, like you say, you've got like 4 or 5 movies which you will go out of your way to see. Yeah. The other ones you'll tend to see are the ones which happen to be on TV. So, I eventually watched A Wonderful Life. Like, I just didn't grow up with it. And a few years ago, it just, like, you're chilling at home, it's Christmas, and A Wonderful Life started. I was just like, all right, I'm in the mood for this. I've never watched it. I'm going to sit down and watch it. And I was like, oh my God, I get it. Like, this is indeed an absolute masterpiece of a Christmas movie. I understand why it's so popular, but the only reason I watched it was by just happenstance. The problem with the film, like Rare Exports, which I feel like someone could have the exact same experience where they don't know much about it. It starts on TV and suddenly it becomes one of their favorite Christmas movies. Is that it's not just going to be on. You've got to go out of your way for Rare Exports. Yeah. You've got to be aware of it. You've got to be aware that, oh, this is a finished movie, and that it's very good and it's worth watching. Because you think of like on Tubi, and I'm not shitting on Santa Slayer or anything like that, but there are a lot of bad Christmas movies, a lot of B movies straight to VHS guff with high concepts. On paper, this sounds like it might be another one of those. Like for all the fun of watching Jack Frost last week, we both came with what did we give it in the end? Like 1.5 stars? Like that feels right. Yeah, and there's loads of movies on Tubi which might be fun to watch, but they're fundamentally and objectively dog shit. On paper, this sounds like it could be one of those films. And then you watch it and you're like, no, this is a really good film. It's really well made, really well acted, really well shot. It's just a good movie.
This film is the one you're going to catch on film for after the 9 o'clock movie. So the 9 o'clock movie ends and this thing comes on at 11, half 11 at night. That's when you're catching Rare Exports. I don't want to say it, but it's sci-fi, old school sci-fi channel.
Mm-hmm. Before, totally.
But I totally agree with you. But it's like I said, for nostalgia reasons, it's not one that I will always go back to or watch every Christmas. I mean, but it's still a great film.
I've got my list. I'm never going to shift from those 5. Like you say, it was nice to have you rewatch this.
Are you checking it twice?
Checking it? Oh, of course. Jesus Christ, I should have got that. Just out of interest. Outside of this podcast, where obviously we've watched a few Christmas movies, have you started watching Christmas movies of your own volition yet? Are you in that kind of mindset?
Not yet.
I did. I watched Die Hard, which feels like a good intro. Sorry,
I'm still working, so it's not Christmas for me.
Oh, I'm still working. I don't give a fuck. I mean, like once the lights go up, I'm like, in the evening I can watch a Christmas movie. But the difference is, and I won't get into the whole Christmas movie. And we've described before that, Die Hard sits in the middle. It's not a Christmas movie and it isn't a Christmas movie. It's a movie set at Christmas. And in the run up to Christmas, watching Die Hard feels okay because it has Christmas, but then fundamentally it just works as an action movie. Like we said before, you can watch Die Hard in April, but it feels like a kind of stepping stone into Christmas season. I'm not sure if I'm ready to watch, to bring up that movie again, A Wonderful Life. A Wonderful Life feels like the kind of film you watch on Christmas Day. Even like A Muppet's Christmas Carol, Scrooge, stuff like that. I'm like, I've got to be like you say, work's done, I'm on Christmas holiday now. Whereas I feel like Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, they're nice warm-up movies.
But they're films I'd watch in a year.
Exactly.
Those kind of films, so yeah.
But it's still getting me in the spirit. But anyway, so that has been 2010's Rare Exports, A Christmas Story. Is that it? A Christmas Tale? Jesus Christ, I've got the name
Christmas Tale, yeah.
Christmas Tale, thank you very much. Yeah. Next week is the 4th and final part of our Hugmas Season Alternative Christmas Movie Podcast. And so it is your choice.
It is also our rare opportunity that we get to do this face to face. I can actually reach out and touch you.
Of course. Yeah, we'll be touching each other for the whole podcast. Some people consider that weird. It's become a Christmas tradition, so we'll just stick with that.
Yeah. You reach out and touch Liam. It's definitely a Westgate family tradition. So keep it up.
We're not going back on that. Yes.
No. So actually, I'm going a bit recent. A lot recent.
Contemporary is the word you're looking for.
2022 is the year.
2022. That is very contemporary. If I'm going to keep using that word. Sorry, that was me being a dick. Oh, a new film. I think you mean contemporary. Fucking bad. Anyway, so a new film. Yeah, for us reading folk.
Yeah.
2022. I'm going to need more.
No problem at all. You're going to get it as soon as I say the main actor. So I'll give you the second. Well, actually, can I? Oh. The director is Tommy Wirkola, or Wirkola, if you want, who is the gentleman that gave us Dead Snow.
Oh, it's Violent Night.
Oh, it's Violent Night indeed. Yeah,
with Harbour, whatever his name is.
Yeah, David Harbour.
David Harbour. Thank you. I saw that movie once. I remember quite enjoying it. David Harbour is perfectly cast in that movie. Yeah. But this is a perfect example. That's what we were talking about earlier. A movie you watch, you go, "Oh, that was quite fun," but it doesn't become part of your kind of festive tradition.
Again,
so it's a good excuse to go back to it.
It's not going to go into your list, but again, you look at like yourself, me, and Dave, who'll join us for next week's. It kind of reaches out. Well, reaches out and touches, for lack of a better word. I've already said it. Our 80s nostalgia of an action Christmas film. You know, it's like Die Hard with Santa as John McClane. So I remember really enjoying this film. Whether or not I go back,
is there a sequel coming out as well?
There is a sequel coming out. There's quite a few people in it. For me, some wrestlers in it as well, which is
when's the sequel coming out? Is it, if it's coming out this year? I mean, it has to come out pretty soon, right?
No, it's not coming out this year. It'll be next year now.
Oh, fair enough.
I think that well, David Harbour has to finish his Avengers stuff, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. Fair enough.
Oh, 2026. So
yeah, because I mean, sometimes I'm surprised at how late, as it were, these Christmas movies come out. Because I'm going to see it's only coming out next week. God, what the hell's the name of the movie? It's got the guy Avatar? From the third Halloween film. I don't think that's a Christmas movie. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Where I saw the trailer for it and I was like, that looks very fucking cool. And I've only seen one review for it, but it's pretty cool. So I'm going to see that on Sunday. We're doing a bizarro double feature on Sunday where we're going to see Zootropolis 2 and then we're going directly into Silent Night, Deadly Night. So that'll be an interesting trip to the cinema.
That's going to be very interesting because I want to see because I mean, for those who don't know, Silent Night, Deadly Night is a horror film from the 80s about a Santa that goes insane and starts killing everybody. Or a kid that dresses up as Santa and goes, and by the by, but that ended up having like loads of sequels and straight to DVD sequels, and then it had a remake with Donald Logue that was like 2015, I think. Oh, God, and then they thought, you know what, we'll just do another remake now in 2025. So it's insane.
I mean, the trailer looked kind of cool, but it's you mentioned there the fact that like Violent Night, for instance, goes back to the 80s, and you know, and the movie I'm going to see on Sunday is a remake from an 80s film. And we mentioned that Rare Exports, you know, very much harkens back to the 80s. The reason for that is because the 80s is the peak era of scary kids films, and that's fundamentally the kind of sweet spot, I think, for a lot of these movies. Is like we want them to be scary and a little bit gross, but we also want, even if like the rating has to be 15, we want it to be potentially viable for kids to watch.
Yeah.
And totally, you just end up back in the 80s, whether it be like that Amblin vibe, or whether it be like Poltergeist, or like we said, Gremlins. It's recapturing that tone, which is surprisingly hard to recapture because loads of movies have tried, but very few have kind of reached the heights that those movies did in the 80s. And I don't think that's by accident. You know, it's like they found that sweet spot in the 80s, and everyone's kind of, you know, chasing that high again.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Violent Night 2, and I know we'll talk more about it next week. But it's like it looks like Kristen Bell is playing Mrs. Claus against David Harbour's Santa Claus. Okay. But they tried to go a bit bigger. So instead of an airport, stranded in a crumbling New Jersey mall and cut off from the North Pole, Santa Claus is trapped, dishing out violent justice to a ruthless crime lord and his henchmen, overrunning the town's mall. So they've gone, right, well, John McClane ended up in an airport, but we need to go bigger than a house.
We'll go to a mall.
So we'll go for a mall, yeah.
Well, the thing is, right, what I remember from this film, and I don't remember the finer details, but what I do remember, it's one of those films where, like, not everything works in that film, from what I remember. And this isn't a great sales pitch, but it is one of those ones because David Harbour's so great as Santa, and the concept's good, and the action's great, and the tone, again, it comes back to tone being spot on. It's the kind of movie where you're just like, oh, I could do with a sequel to that. You know, when you just like, they haven't quite nailed it, but there's enough, all the ingredients are there to potentially make a really good like one of the ones I always think of is the Mortal Kombat remake from a couple of years ago. Like the sequel is coming out next year.
Yeah.
That film was far from perfect, but surprisingly, I was just like, I like all the individual elements. It hasn't quite all come together here, but I am totally on board to see a sequel where, you know, you could conceivably, you know, kind of gel it better. And that is the same with Violent Night. Violent Night is, from what I recall, a really fun movie, but the potential is there for an even better sequel. But don't worry about the sequel. Watch the original and listen to our podcast next week.
And the thing about Violent Night, obviously, is like the inventive Santa kills. We're going to talk about a lot, you know? Like, how could Santa do this? Santa do that? You know, he's got the magic and everything. So it's going to be interesting. The only thing I'm not looking forward to is him going to, quote-unquote, Bristol at the beginning of the film again. But
I forgot about that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like, that is going to be interesting.
The Bristol accents. I don't know where they fucking studied Bristol, but they did not go to Bristol.
All I can think is, right, was this filmed around the same time as Hellboy, or was this a few years after? It was a few years after, right?
Yeah, no, actually, it was the year after. Oh, no, it was 2022. So Hellboy was 2019. So 3 years.
Okay, yeah. I was just thinking maybe there was a bit of a crossover because that was the opposite of this almost, where I thought they had the casting perfectly for Hellboy. I thought David Harbour was great as Hellboy. I just didn't like the film, and part of it was like the whole British section at the start. And I thought maybe it's a crossover anyway, so it was a stretch and it's not accurate anyway.
Yeah,
but I think this is going to be really fun to cover. And if anything, nothing else, it's just like David Harbour as Santa. He absolutely, without any sense of irony, I was going to say he slays it. Literally, I was going to say he slays it. Ridiculous, unbelievable.
Oh, keep that joke for next week.
Yeah, we'll save that for next week. All right, anything else before we wrap this up?
No, mate, we've had a bit of a struggle with recording, so I need to go and make some dinner for somebody who's
If anything at any point in this podcast doesn't sound quite consistent, or if we just like bizarrely repeat ourselves, it's because we had a fucking nightmare technically recording this. Hopefully it's come out okay, but I guess we'll find out. All right, I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you have been listening, hopefully at least, to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.